So we're going to start right away. We've preheated our oven to 350 degrees. We made sure our rack was in the middle position. I've got all sorts of my ingredients out getting to room temperature. And we want to start on that crust. So first things first, we are going to get our food processor set up here. I have this one in my house. It's a little smaller than we would find commercially, but it works really awesome for this cheesecake stuff. Just so you can see real good. All right, so I'm just going to take my food processor and I'm going to stick it at, open up here, bear with me. I stick the handle at, what would that be, 7 o'clock, and then hit click it shut. Take my blade and spin it on there, make sure it's falling all the way to the bottom. I need to grind up my graham crackers. So I'm going to go ahead and take my package, snap it in half, and just kind of break them as I drop them right into it. Get my butter melting. I measured out 2.5 ounces of butter on my scale, which is just slightly more than half a stick, right? We'll get that melting. Well, we measure out our 1/4 cup of sugar. Go ahead and take that right on in. Set my sugar aside. And then while my butter is doing its thing, I'm going to go ahead and pulse this just a little bit and break up our crust a little. All right, so right now we've started to break this up. I'm going to let you look inside. Right in there. So we see that I've broken it up, and now it's time to add our butter, which I've had it melted. Make sure I grab myself so that we get every single piece into all the butter into our recipe. And I'll save my spatula for later. So when I put it inside of my springform pan. All right, so we're going to go ahead, get the lid back on that bad boy. Start pulsing at it again. So now we're going for just some beach sand or brown sugar. I think it's great. Back in there, take a good look, team. Looks awesome, right? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take my blade off, or let me just take this off first. Take this off. I'm done with my food processor for the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and get that off. And now it's time to work inside of our pan. So I have my food processor, I have my springform pan set up. And now I'm going to take and get it all inside of the pan. And then with that, I'm going to actually just take a measuring cup, like my 1 cup measure here, because it has this nice square edge and a nice flat bottom with no lip ridges on it, versus like this cup doesn't have a flat edge and it even has like a little ridge on the bottom. I'm going to use this for when I pack things down. Okay, so go ahead and just take off my blade, dump all my product in, grab my spatula, and get all the rest out, because that's perfectly good crust. And if you have a little bit more than a 9-inch pan, you want every single piece of product. But now that's all loose. So we're going to go ahead And we're going to take our cup here and we're going to start packing it down. And we just start by gentle pats in the beginning, just real gentle. All right, once I start to get it kind of flat, then I can start applying a little more pressure. So now I've kind of got a nice flat surface here. It's looking flat, but look how easily it falls apart. It's super easy. So we're gonna start applying pressure. All right, so now that I've got it even, I'm gonna hear how my taps got louder. Get it down there a little harder. Working along the edge, packing it down good. All right, I'm able to give that some good force. That means I've gotten it. Look now, even when I push on it, it doesn't separate out. You can see a little bit bigger surface here. So now I'm just gonna work to really level it. Pushing it around. All right, I'm happy. That looks awesome. Now we can just go ahead. We've made our graham cracker crust. Let's get that into the oven. That's this way, right? Yeah, there we go. So let's get this bad boy into the oven. I'm gonna set the timer for at least 10 minutes and we'll check on it then. There we go. Set our timer. And then we just keep going. All right, so now I'm gonna start a kettle of hot water because I'm gonna need it for inside of my oven when we bake, as well as I think I'm gonna set up, probably gonna need to set up some double boiler action here, just to make sure we get our sour cream and our cream cheese to completely blend without any chunkies. I've got this to a pretty decent room temperature. Let's roll forward with just our blender. So let's start our kettle. In case we need to double boil. And we're going to need our kettle or our hot water for inside of our oven. A kettle is just a nice tool to get water hot. That's okay if you want to have one. Just warm it up in a saucepan, man. All right, so we have to look to our recipe now, right? We've taken care of our crust. Now we make the filling. Using a mixer fitted with a paddle attachment, we're gonna beat our cream cheese, our sugar at medium high until it's smooth and creamy. Then we're gonna add our sour cream, our vanilla, our lemon juice, and then beat till smooth. So does Miss P have all of her ingredients mise en place? We got 2.5 pounds of cream cheese. Showing you everything, really? Okay, there we go. We have our 2.5 pounds of cream cheese. Now we need our 1 cup of granulated sugar, which I just set aside. So let's get out our granulated sugar, measure out the whole cup. Take this little ramekin that I got. This 1/4 cup is already dirty from before, so I'm just going to use it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm also concerned there's some chunks in there, and I don't want to messing with my recipe. So let me grab my sifter and let's sift that off. Let's get the chunks out of our sugar. So right inside in there, we can see there was these chunks and we didn't want them to be a problem. All right, I'm sure you can see. This is where I go ahead and I just get the rest, but otherwise this is all so hard that I'm just gonna dump it. I'm gonna get rid of it. I don't want this in my recipe. This would have been chunks and problems inside of our recipe if we had let that go. So we got our sugar yeast. Next ingredient, 1.5 cups of sour cream at room temperature. Okay, so this is 2 cups of sour cream, meaning if I just peel off a 1/2 cup, I could use this whole tub, couldn't I? Yeah. So with that said, I'm just going to actually peel off that 1/2 cup. I'm going to use a 1/2 cup measure. Because if I just take a 1/2 cup out now, team, do you see my logic then? If this is 2 cups, why would I'm just going to take the 1/2 cup out. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that to take care of it. Perfect. I got my 1/2 cup peeled out. I'm going to set that aside because I'm just going to save this container and return that 1/2 cup to it later. So I got my 1/2 cup of sour cream. Now I need a teaspoon of vanilla. So I got my vanilla out and I got my 1 teaspoon measure out. I'm going to just set that there because I feel like I'm just going to measure that when the time comes. But I have my equipment ready. And then lemon, washed, zest, rind, and pressed juice from lemon. Okay. So we got my Miss P's 1 lemon. But this guy is dirty. So let's wash him up. I'm going to wash him in my sink right now. Let's see what's the name of the game. I intentionally counted to 20 while adding friction to my lemon the whole time. And I need the zest from the outside of it, as well as the juice from the inside of it. So first I'm going to zest it, and then second I'm going to juice it. Something for my zest and something for my juice. So I'm going to go ahead and put my juice in here, and I'm going to use that sugar cup that I used earlier for my zest. So here we go. My microplane's in play. Just giving it a turn. I don't want to go down into the rind. I just want that outside of the zest. That's highly concentrated oils that bring us flavor of lemon, as well as that juice is going to bring us moisture to our recipe as well as flavor. Working all the way around, trying to get a decent amount of the zest from this. And again, if you're doing this with a paring knife and just gonna mince it up with your chef knife, first just peel the outside real gently, real carefully, just that outside part, and then just go ahead and herb cut across it like crazy until you get really fine, really little chunks of zest. All right, I'm happy with how I did. I got the zest off the outside. I'm just kind of checking my work, making sure I got it all. Tap it off. Got my zest. Happy with that. My next job is to juice this guy. So I'm just going to grab my paring knife, or actually this is a mini serrated slicer, works good for sandwiches, and go ahead and get my juice together. Again, we use our juicer. I have this guy. I place my lemon face side down. You can squeeze this with your hand if you need to. I like this thing because it even catches my seeds for me, and I don't want seeds in the recipe. Our lemon juice. Last, we need 3 large eggs at room temperature. Got that check. Nice, and they feel pretty tepid to me in my hand. I'm happy with that. So I need to move forward to my stand mixer, right, team? Let's grab the stand mixer. So I can use my stand mixer if I want. Let me adjust my camera so you can see differently. Bear with me. Yeah, you don't want to look at that. You want to look at, oh, yeah, there we go. That's better. All right, so I have this style of stand mixer. If you have a hand mixer, totally gonna work fine. One of the big takeaways from cheesecake and why room temperature can be so important is because if we have to overmix, overbeat things to get them to smooth, we might be incorporating air at the same time, and we don't want to incorporate air. We want as little air as possible. That way, when it's cooking, it doesn't continue to expand in the bowl. We want our cheesecake to stay real level, real low. So low air. The point of making cheesecake is not to leaven it with air. Okay. So I'm going to put in my paddle attachment. This attachment's a little different than maybe the average one. I purchased this separately because my attachment that I had that had just the paddle, it started to break away right here and add, and the plastic was breaking away. So that meant food could go under there and cause foodborne illnesses, as well as more could break off and cause physical contamination. So when I had to pull the trigger on purchasing a new paddle, I thought, wow, look at this cool little scraper thing. That's why I got it. All right, so we got our stand mixer set up, and our directions tell us to begin with all of our cream cheese and add the sugar, right? Yeah. Oh, I'm not doing a good job opening this one, am I? Oh, team, our crust is done. All right, our crust has come out. I can see that it's puffed and browned just a little bit. Looks pretty nice, right? So we're just gonna set this aside so it cools off just a little bit so we can handle it when it's time to cover it in aluminum foil, okay? Okay, so we got to continue forward now. Fight the cream cheese. Package number one, but look at all that product left on there. That's perfectly good cream cheese that we should be adding to our recipe. It calls for 2.5 pounds, and so we shouldn't be leaving ounces in the package. That's a lot of cream cheese I just recaptured, isn't it? All right, that side, move on. So we got 8 ounces, 1/2 pound. This is where you need the magic of YouTube to just fast forward for you, huh? All right. Capturing all my cream cheese. That was quite a bit left. Next, so 2 of them equals 1 pound. 8 plus 8 is 16, 16 ounces in 1 pound. Moving on to my next group. Maybe. We should have how long it takes to open cream cheese packages contests at school. So this recipe, you're going to find it's pretty great, as well as pretty achievable. And once you know how to make cheesecake, well, you know how forever. as well as it becomes a favorite of other people's. And it's just one of those things you can bring to any party you want. It's a really great thing to know how to produce. Just give my hands a quick wipe. Oh, fat from the cream cheese on them. I don't think I've ever had cream cheese packages fight me so bad. It's got to be because we're filming. Now, also commercially, we buy this cream cheese in 3-pound blocks. And they cost about, well, 3 pounds would be what, 6 cream cheeses. So they cost about half of what it costs retail when you are purchasing commercially. So you can reduce your cost in your coffee shop or the restaurants that you guys open, just knowing that you can buy from commercial suppliers. It does cost more to buy dairy at the grocery store. All right, we captured our cream cheese. And oh, I know. Wipe off me. Okay. All right, now I can add my paddle. Get you guys closer. That's better. All right. I haven't added my sugar yet. I just kind of wanted to soften this up. And again, notice I'm using slow speeds. I don't want to add air. Just trying to combine right now. All right, let's go ahead and begin to add our sugar. Oh my gosh, no, dry my hands up. All right. I'm happy with how smooth things look right now. Do you notice I don't see any chunks of cold cream cheese that are bright white hanging out in there? So this looks nice and smooth. I'm going to just give this another few seconds after this wipe down, scraping out the bottom of my bowl. So it tells me to cream. You're basically kind of creaming that sugar and cream cheese together, right? And then we're going to add our sour cream, vanilla, and lemon juice and beat until smooth. So let's move forward. Give myself a little room, grab my spatula, add my cream cheese. Now, if I remember, or sour cream, if I remember to get my cream cheese to room temperature, but forget my sour cream, what can happen is the cold sour cream will touch the cream cheese and start to make it cold and create little lumps. So we do want to avoid that. We do actually still want room temperature sour cream. We've added our sour cream. We've had to add our vanilla. So Miss P's got to add her vanilla, but I'm gonna measure this over something other than my bowl. I don't want to measure over here in case I splash. I'm gonna measure off to the side and then add it. Oh, look what I just did. Oh, better. So let me just measure that. I'm gonna just use the butter bowl that I had to measure over, because if I splash in there, who cares if I make a mess in it, right? Oh, I made it. So it's one of vanilla, my lemon juice. Let's go again. Ooh, slow down. Now we're combining this until it's smooth. Things are looking good. Now, if you look down at your mix and you see chunks in there, that's where you can make a transition and take it over to a double boiler situation and work over a little warmth to get everything to kind of warm up and make itself smooth. So we've achieved smoothness here. And as a rule, we still are going to want to scrape down our bowl, right? Get any of those weird vanillas up there in there. Get to the bottom. Get some of this stuff off the top of the beater, off of there. So see how nice and smooth everything looks? This is all because I was able to get everything to kind of that room temp before we started. So if you don't have that prep done, you're going to need to either work over a double boiler, be patient, and wait till things get room. If you have one way that you can push things to room temp just a little faster is, like I did this morning, is I placed everything on the counter over where my dishwasher was running, where it was warm. So it kind of helped me out a little. So look how nice and beautiful and glossy this all looks. No lumps in there. So we move to our next step, which is at a medium speed. You're going to add your eggs one at a time, beating after each until just blended. All right. This is a place too where I don't see where we add our lemon zest, but we need to add that too. So I'm going to add my zest now. I'm going to add my zest now, as well as my eggs. One egg at a time, right? I'm going to be safe too, and I'm going to avoid cracking this egg right on into here, because what if I put shell in it? What if it's a rotten egg? What if? So I'm going to go ahead and crack this egg into my lemon juice bowl first. I didn't add any shell. That all looks safe. So let's go ahead and add one egg. While that's mixing, we'll prepare the next egg. This looks just combined. Agreed. We don't see streaks of egg yolk in there anymore, or weird streaks of different colors or textures. It all looks like one combined product now. And any little texture I see in here should be my lemon zest and not chunks of solid cream cheese or solid sour cream. All right, we gave that last mix, and now it's time to do the preparation part of the cheesecake, okay? Okay, so we're gonna move away from our stand mixer and back to our Get back here. I'm gonna clear away this cutting board that I was working with. Just have a clean surface, and now I have a clean one right away again. I'm gonna bring over my springform pan, and then I need it needs to fit in. I don't think it fits. Yeah, it needs to fit into another pan for it's called like a cooking it in a bain-marie or cooking it in a water bath, so that the outside of that cheesecake doesn't burn. Okay, so mine is going to fit nicely right in here. But I can't just place this right in here because this is a springform pan with seams, and then the seams that all exist under here. So we have to cover this in foil and then put it in our water bath. And you'll be like, why are we putting this in a water bath? Think about cheesecake. It doesn't have a hard, crusty edge like a brownie, does it? It has a beautiful, even cooked texture all the way through. And the way we achieve that even cooked texture all the way through is by this water bath. It protects that outside edge, but still lets everything cook evenly. All right, so that means I have to prep this pan. So aren't I glad that I cooked this in advance so now I can touch this? And I have to tell you, team, water will find a way. Water will find a way. So I actually own like the big foil because it covers all of my pan like this. But if you have the shorter foil at home, that's okay. Just make sure you wrap it like 3 to 4 times because water will find a way. So I'm not even going to put 1 layer of foil on this. I'm going to put 2 of them because what if I put like a little pinhole in one? And water finds a way. And if water finds a way into here, then it tends to soak in up here and make our crust just a little soggy. Usually something we can, we don't even have to disclose to our guests. You'll be able to tell because of the quality difference. But otherwise, I generally don't stress about that if it happens. We got our foil prepped. So if you're doing this with the 1 foot foil, just like make a star right here. Lots of foil. Put that on there, and then I'm not gonna be aggressive because I don't want to tear anything. I'm just gonna gently work it up. And then I'm gonna take this weird edge here, and I'm gonna just roll it back. Gives me access to my cheesecake. So now I've protected it from the water bath I'm about to put it in. I got that prepped. I like having this prepped and ready kind of before I even put my cheesecake stuff in. So I can put this here, I got this here, and now I can put my cheesecake in. Let's take our paddle off. Grab my handy dandy stuff. And save as much product from it as possible, because that's cheesecake, man. They want that. That aside. Take our bowl. Ignore my dirty finger. And I'll let it go there. All of it. We're scraping it all in. I don't see air bubbles and air pockets in here. That makes me happy because I don't want this rising a whole bunch in the oven. It'd be called cake, but it doesn't rise. Okay. Now we just gently make it as flat and smooth a surface as possible. And most cakes, like with leaveners and such, I would tell you never to tap or jiggle it because I wouldn't want you to get any air out. This isn't that kind of cake. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Give it a little bit of a I don't like that on there. I don't want that gone. So this can totally happen in a cake pan too, you guys. This doesn't have to happen in the springform pan. So now I can set this right in. My water bath roaster here. Prepared in advance, full of hot water. And I protect our cheesecake. So right now, this water level sitting right here. I still have a pretty decent amount of cheesecake left to protect. So let's get more hot water going. Because I need some more hot water in here, and I need some hot water for under in my oven. So what we're doing with this steam is we're even protecting the top, and we're keeping things from drying out and cracking, because that is a disaster in cheesecake. We want cheesecake to be so smooth and so pretty. I really like, I can see some air bubbles coming to the surface, so that makes me happy. Well, that is in here. Get that kettle going. Well, that is, I see these air bubbles coming up. And so while my kettle's prepping, I'm just going to take a little toothpick. And I'm going to pop some of these air bubbles while I wait on my kettle, because I don't want them on my cheesecake. Thank you. Oh, feels much better when I'm just talking and cooking with you guys. This is a really cool place. So we kind of flavored ours with lemon, but this is where you could flavor yours with like chocolate and mocha and strawberry swirl, all sorts of, you know, fun, different ways that you can flavor a cheesecake, or just have it that traditional New York style. All right. Mise en place to my pan for inside the oven. I thought. So it doesn't matter what kind of wok pan you put at the bottom of our oven. I'm gonna look at the oven. So at the bottom of our oven, it does not matter what kind of water pan that we put in there underneath of our cheesecake. It can be any old kind of pan. I just like this one. So I don't care if you use another cake pan. I don't care. Just use something good to keep the thing steamy and hot and awesome. Okay. Set that there. We can go ahead and probably even move our cheesecake here, so that when our kettle's ready, we can just shove it right in the oven. Now, the rules for when this cake is done is a little different than the average cake. Normally we take a cake out, we let it cool on the counter for a little while, and then we take it out of the pan. With cheesecake, we're gonna do a different process. We're gonna bake it, and then we're gonna shut the oven off, and we're gonna pop the door open and set a timer for an hour. So we're gonna let it continue to carry over cook for the remaining hour, and we're gonna let it just slowly cool down. The slower you let this cheesecake cool, the less likely a split across the top is gonna happen. And this is good advice for you to take forward in even your pumpkin pies. There's, you know, Thanksgiving might be coming and you want to maybe take part in making that kind of thing. Well, what happens or why people's pies and cheesecakes split down the middle is because we let them cool off too fast. So let it cool slowly. So yeah, and we're gonna cook it. Timer's gonna go off. I'm gonna shut the oven off. I'm gonna pop the door open, just like that almost. And I'm gonna set my timer again for an hour. Then after the 1 hour mark, I'm gonna move it to the counter. And I'm gonna take it out of the water bath and I'm just gonna set it on the counter for another hour probably. And then I'm gonna move it to the fridge. So with that, you know, I don't get to eat my cheesecake now for like 3 to 4 hours probably. And during that time is when we can take the time to make maybe some strawberry coulis. Or if we have any fruit in the fridge that needs to be gotten rid of, let's make a sauce out of it. Especially if our strawberries are starting to look ugly, or maybe our blueberries were too bitter because they're out of season. Make them into a sauce. You get to add sugar and just correct all that wrong anyway. All right, my kettle is ready, so let's get this in the oven. All right, I got this hot water. It's gonna make steam inside of my oven. It's gonna make my cheesecake turn out as a better quality. I'll put my cheesecake in. Slow and steady. And then we set our timer. So let's do that. You guys were doing so good on time. How long? 55 to 70 minutes. We're sticking at the 55 because we pop our oven open and it's going to carry over cook. Don't cook it for 70 minutes. Just cook it for 55. It still has to stay in the oven for another hour. So timer. Boom. Cheesecake. Cooking for 55 minutes. With that said, that means we have time in our lesson today, because we whipped that out, what, 12:10 class started. It's 1:50, it's 12:55. So it took us less than, it probably took us, what, 35 minutes to put that cheesecake together from start to finish. And Miss P's mise en place wasn't even perfect. This is achievable for you. And boy, I'm telling you, when you can execute this cheesecake, one, it's something you can bring to the restaurant and tell your owner that you know how to do beautifully, and maybe they'll let you make desserts. Two, again, family functions, you have something people want you to make. So let's make some sauce. Let's make some coulis, which isn't in your recipe. It's pretty simple. Coulis is. It's a C-O-U-L-I-S is how you spell coulis. It's my favorite on cooking competitions when those like 10-year-olds say the word coulis when they're making fruit sauces. It just knocks me out. So I'm going to put away my stand mixer. I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to grab some strawberries that I've thrown in the freezer. Okay, so whenever the fruit in my house starts to look bad and like they're not going to eat it anymore, I usually will just take the tops off or prepare it and to be eaten and just freeze them and save them for this exact situation. So we're going to take our strawberries, whatever amount we have. Who cares, right? The reason we don't care what amount we have is because it's based on weight. So I'm going to work in grams because this is how I remember the formula. Bear with me. So if I weigh my strawberries, And I have my scale. So I have just over 500 grams of strawberries. I have about 525 grams of strawberries. So that means the amount of sugar that I use is 10%. So that means I need 10% of 525 is what, 52 grams of sugar. I'm gonna grab my saucepan and I'm gonna throw my frozen strawberries in there. And then I'm gonna measure out my 52 grams of sugar. This has all like frost stuff in it, so I know that sugar is gonna stick in there. I'll just reset and recalibrate. This container will work for sugar. All right, so I'm gonna re-zero out my scale. So I take, because this didn't weigh so much, I'm just gonna re-zero that out, and I'm gonna start grabbing my sugar and measuring it to 52 grams because I had about 525 grams of strawberry, 10%. All right, 1/3 scoop brought me all the way to like 80 grams. A little bit of that. Perfect. I'm at like 55 grams of sugar there, and I'm gonna just go ahead and throw that right in. And we're gonna get this. Ooh, we don't want to look at my drawers. I'm gonna get it right in some heat. Don't worry that these are all frozen and such, because heat will do its work. And while that starts to do its job, I'm going to prepare my RoboCoupe. If you have a stick blender at home, that thing that you go and it has a stick, it's an awesome tool for making coulis, but I don't have one. So I'm going to use my RoboCoupe. You could use a blender. You could use, you could just mash the heck out of it if you really, that's what you need to do. You could mash the heck out of it with a potato masher if you have a potato masher. I have one of these like hamburger smasher things. We could use that. I'll let that do its work, but I'm going to quick get my RoboCoupe ready. So hold on just a second. There we go. All right. Almost. So coulis, unlike all sauces, most sauces, is actually gets a second level of stringing. We're going to use a fine needle strainer in order to catch all those strings. We've got a base. We've got a base. Now we just need here. I can hear my stove top going. I can hear that things are starting to bounce. So let's go. Let's move our camera over. This is where we really want to be. Things are happening. Spoil away. That spatula clean. Now you can do experiments with fresh versus frozen fruit. See if you can tell the difference. I'm gonna start smashing these as soon as I can get a little smash to them. There we go. Breaking these up a little. A little sugar chunk in there, I see. All right, let's let the heat keep doing its job. And while that happens, I'm gonna grab a towel too. I see some drama on my stove top to clean up. You can also see where this would be a great spot where you clean everything up, right? Just try not to bore you all with too much of that. There's been all sorts of cooking happening in this kitchen today. Boy, putting that more frozen stuff down really slowed that temperature down, didn't it? A safe spot. Just put my spatula here. Put my funnel away. Just let that work. Just step it away and put away my food processor. Oh, it's going again. Let's chop up those strawberries a little more. What we want to do is kind of want to cook these strawberries to develop more sugar and more flavor. This is going to be a beautiful sauce. Any leftovers you could save for pancakes too. There it goes. Well, this is working on Miss P's over here cleaning up her mess in the kitchen. Returned my half a cup of sour cream to its container. Oh, looking good. The white foam on top is telling me that sugars and carbohydrates are getting released. That means flavor is developing. And this is the spot. We can add just a little bit of kosher salt, you guys. Salt is just a little bit, so like a little. To elevate that flavor, really enhance that strawberry in there. We're almost ready to puree it. And then after we puree it, we're going to put it through a fine mesh strainer, okay? Notice how it's turned a little darker, a little browner. Oxidization has happened and enzymatic browning from me banging on these strawberries and rupturing cells. The addition of salt is also going to help rupture cells inside of the strawberry. Okay. So I'm happy here. See all this foam on top. I've seen a change in color. I've gotten it to break down and let go of all the rest of its sugars. So now it's time to move this guy right into the food processor. Okay. So we'll come back over to our food processor. Hey, friend. Our friend, the food processor. We'll shut off our flame. We'll just go ahead and add that. Let me grab my rubber spatula here. We'll go ahead and add that right into our food processor, hot and all. It's all good. It's all good. And we're going to turn this into liquid. No more chunks. I don't want any more chunks left in it, okay? Liquid. My top. Good. Go. Oh, I was like a bug in it. Okay, and now that's pureed, but we want to get out any seeds and additional big old chunks. So we're going to take my strainer here. This is where you could use like a Tamis drum or something like that, because it's going to catch all that other little stuff. Yes, I got a little rust action happening on here. Sorry, I need new equipment sometimes too. So go ahead and pour that right in. Rescue my blade. Take my spatula, get all the product. $1 million spatula right here. Look at all that money going right into the bowl rather than down the drain. All right, and now this is the part where we just gently move it through and we can see it coming off the bottom. Let me change our camera angle, team. Yeah, you can see that. That's cool. All right, so I'm just moving my spatula through and it's pushing through the fruit and the pulps and the sugar and all the good stuff, but it's holding back seeds, skins, things like that. Skins would be involved more if we were doing this with a blueberry, maybe. I'm just getting it all to go through. All that stuff too, it has all the pectin in it, which thickens things. Ever heard of pectin? Pectin is naturally occurring in fruit, and it's kind of like a thickener, kind of like a starch almost. We're making coulis, you guys. C-O-U-L-I-S. Coulis. Formula, 10% sugar to fruit by grams. You don't even got to write it down, do you? So here I can start to see things are getting pretty chunky in here. See all the little seeds that we're holding back? So it's going to slow down a little, and we're going to have to just do a little more work. But we don't want to work so hard that we push the things through the screen that we didn't want in there in the first place, okay? So we're just moving things to the side to kind of let the fruit fall through and keep the seeds to the side. So that means I'm not doing a push action. I'm just moving things to the side, okay? I don't want to push things through the screen that don't belong there. And this for hand tools and equipment, we're using a strainer, right? A fine mesh strainer, but we could be using a Tamis drum. We could be using a chinois. You know, those kind of things too are pretty sweet. Remember that chinois in your reading? That thing's awesome. That's something I need at my house. All right, so now I look at all these seeds that are left, and I'm not gonna risk putting this into our dish. I don't wanna push it through the screen, so I'm gonna stop soon. I'm gonna just get as much as I can, but otherwise I'm gonna just sacrifice this because this isn't what we want in there anyway. Yeah. Now you've made a beautiful strawberry sauce. No seeds are gonna be stuck in your guest's teeth. That's funny. In your guest's teeth. So yeah, I'm ready to stop there. You ready? I'm ready. That looks like just seeds left. But look at what we have as a result. Oh, I'm gonna get the bottom of this though. This is all perfectly good right here on all this. Lovely. All right. So now this is what's called coulis, and we'll put this aside and we'll save it for a beautiful sauce to decorate our plate with and to sauce our fruit, and then we'll put some fresh maybe blueberries on top of that for a different pop of color. Okay. So our cheesecake team has 35 minutes left to bake. Let's peek at it, and then I can dismiss you, right? So let's peek at our cheesecake, meaning this P's got to pick up her laptop. Hold on. Turn the light on. You see? There it is. See how it's not puffing huge? Because we didn't put too much air in it. That wasn't the point. It wasn't to make it puffy, right? So I have faith that this is going to go very well. So my job next, when this timer goes off, as a reminder, pop that door open and just shut the oven and let it be for an hour. I take it out, I put it on the counter, I take it out of the water, I let it hang out for another hour. The slower I let this thing cool down, the less likely it is to split. Okay. After that, I can put it in the fridge. I generally I don't have to seal it up too tight. I try to let things vent out of it because sometimes if it's still warm, moisture can condense on whatever you sealed it up with, and then it will rain back down with your cheesecake and make weird little spots on your cheesecake. So make sure that your cheesecake can vent if it's still warm at all when you're putting it in the fridge. With that said, I'm going to stop recording somehow.